Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Alchemy Trades. This is Host Logic. A couple of people have asked me would I get a little bit more in-depth into some of the grid spacings. How many grids do I use, and why do I choose this number? Because it's not necessarily true that more grids are better. It's not always more is better. In some cases, it's detrimental to your trading to have the max grids that you have available to you. So we'll go over kind of why I choose the grid spacings and what's the difference in the amount that I choose. The first thing I like to do is I like to come over to CoinMarketCap and just get an idea of what's going on in the crypto space right now around me. We'll look at primarily the 24 and the 1 hours. We can see we've had some pullbacks. Let's look at Polygon, for example. We pulled back 1.76%, and then within the last hour, we've gone up 1.86%. So that means that we are actually a little bit better than where we were 24 hours ago. So that means whatever trade we are looking to get into, it's probably going to go the direction that we think it might go. Because the overall market looks pretty healthy and it's on a slightly upwards trend compared to what it was 24 hours ago. So we'll jump in the Nitro chart because that's my favorite chart. You guys know this. And we'll get an idea of the entries, because this is something that is also very important. Like, I might put out a trade, let's look at this Nitro and Matic as a trade. You might get it 30 minutes, 45 minutes later, want to jump right into it, then you're starting off in the hole almost immediately. Well, you're doing that because maybe you're getting into it in the upper area that it's been trading at. When I called it way back here 45 minutes ago, this was a good entry, and then you would have been ahead of the game almost the entire trade, could have gotten in and that made your 4%. So that's very important. You want to make sure that whenever you're getting into a trade, pull up Dex Screener, pull up Nitro, and then look for yourself to see where the good entries are. Of course, just look at if I call it the floor is 0.01664, and it's trading at, right at this area here, say 0.01714, then you're a little bit behind the curve there. So just wait for it to come back down. It will. At least let it come back to center here where it likes to trade at a lot, or in this area below it. That way, at least you're not starting out just so far behind the curve. If you're trading something like, say, Matic, USDC, and you plan on being in that for maybe a couple of days or at least overnight, well, then that's fine, because as long as you're starting out, within that center area or the lower part of the center area, you're most likely going to close your trade out ahead of the game. But for the short 1 or 2 hour trades that you guys know I like to get into and make that quick 2, 3, 4%, you want to make sure your entry is key. How I like to choose my entries is just looking at the MACD. When it's going from dark red to light red, it's starting to curl back up. That means to me, this is signaling a reversal. It's not going to probably come all the way down to the floor like it does like to sometimes, because it's made its change. It's curling back up. So this is why I like to call out these entries and get into it right here. I think when I called this trade out earlier, it was in this lower range here. But again, these are some of the areas that we like to kind of trade into, and these are good signals to do this with. When it switches from this dark red to light red, reversal, moves right back up. It's already at the lower part of the floor that we've been seeing it trade at quite a bit. It's respecting it quite often, so that's a good way to get into it. Same thing goes in reverse. If it's going from a dark green to a light green, that means it's probably peaking out. It may be exhausted and want to start pulling back, so it might be a good time if you're just doing this quick 2, 3, 4% to go ahead and close your trade out, let it come back down, and then jump back into it later on. So we'll jump into the bot and we'll look at some of our grid spacings here and kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So we'll select Nitro and Matic. Just throwing a number here. Our lower range was 0.01664. So 0.01664. Income, our ceiling was 0.01754, so 0.01754. Find the grids. Let's see how many grids it gives us available. So here it says we can do 7 grids. So let's do the max grids and see what happens. So here it says our movement per grid is 0.000129 and our profit per grid is 0.0198. So we're making under 2 cents per grid. So let's pull this back just one grid and let's see what happens now. So now our movement is now 0.00015, not too much of a difference, but now we're making 10 cents, almost 11 cents per grid. And if we pull it back one more to 5 grids, and let's see what happens. Now we're making almost 30 cents a grid, 28 cents per grid, and our movement is only 0.00018, and we're now making 30 cents per grid. So we jump over here to deck screener again. We can kind of see with our floor and ceiling, we can kind of see these grids here as a representation. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and just almost 5 grids. So that's a good representation of what we would be doing if we were getting in this trade. So if we started right here when it switched from dark red to light red, and we got into it, say, at 0.01679, it would buy everything below it, so probably 2 grids below it. That way we would have that to sell on the way up. And then from our entry point to here, that would be a sell. And from this one up to the next one, it just touched it and broke it. So that would be another sell. So we'd have 2 sells at almost 30 cents per grid versus less than 2 cents per grid. So that's how you can see the major difference of by not necessarily going with max grids, and it's not always necessary to have 20 grids to trade this, because Nitro usually likes to stay in a, we're trading this in a really tight range. It's not like we're looking for it to come down here and then all the way up to, 18, 19 cents here. We're only trading this in a pretty tight channel. We're even giving a little bit more room to breathe because it has been known just to explode sometimes. So that's why we choose necessarily that 5 grids. There's plenty of movement for this thing to come up and down. As you can see, it does like to trade up and down here, so you'd be getting some good buy and sell orders out of here. And especially if you time your entry right, you're going to be able to ride this up and make that 2 or 3% pretty quickly, within probably an hour or 2 hours, because you guys know that's how I like to kind of get in and out of my trade. Like I'm in TWT here, I got into it right back here, and rode this all the way up almost the whole day, and then it pulled back. But even when it pulled back, I'm still up like 1.5% at this point. And here, I'm probably up 2.5%, 3% right now. I can't show you guys that because if I switch it, it's going to kill the video, but I'll post the close trade when I'm done with it here in a little bit. But that's the entry point is really, really key here, guys. I'll start going over some more technical and analysis tools, like, using Fibonacci levels, using some pattern recognition, start teaching you guys some patterns, what to look for, like this, double bottom is a pretty good pattern, and that creates this little W form. I'll go over some more detailed stuff, but right now I just want to show you guys the tools that I happen to use almost every single day, because the MACD is probably one of the most important indicators, because it'll literally tell you when this trend is reversing, when to get into it. Is it going to continue downwards? Well, as long as CoinMarketCap is still showing pretty green, we're certainly above where we were, close to it as we were 24 hours ago. So that means anything we kind of get into, if this was all red, even though our trade was showing that we're possibly going to be going up because the overall market's pushing down, it may not go in the favor that we want it to go to. So kind of keep that in mind. But with the overall market looking pretty good, our technical analysis is showing that it's doing pretty good. It's respecting our ranges, and our MACD is kind of curling back over, confirming that yes, it's probably not going to go any further down. It's going to reverse back up. Good time to get into it. I don't have to wait for it to come all the way down here at the bottom of the floor like the trade was called out. So these are why some of these tools are really good to use. If you like that double confirmation of when the blue line crosses the red line, you can certainly use that, but it's a lagging indicator, so you're going to miss a little bit of that, but it's certainly a way to confirm that. And then the same thing with the RSI. Nothing is oversold. It's nowhere near that 70 mark. That shows that, we're kind of getting that oversold territory. It didn't quite hit the very bottom on the 30 either, but that's fine, though. This is trading within a good channel in a sideways motion, doing some buying and selling, which is where the bot comes in at. It's where its magic happens at. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope this answers some of your questions. If you guys want me to go over anything else, just let me know, and I'll gladly dig into it. And again, I'll start getting into a little bit more complex TAs, some more tools. Just let me know what you guys want me to do, and I'll get it done for you. See you on the chat, guys. Have a good night.